Sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to vision and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. O Mother, sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All Mother, sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. Thus, until I achieve Buddha, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Now, page 2 of the 4th session Guru Yoga text. All Mother, sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in you, precious Guru Buddha. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. We take refuge in you, Guru, clear like Dharma Kaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. We take refuge in you, Guru, compassionate Nirmana Kaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. We take refuge in you, Guru, the actuality of the fourth Kaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. All Mother, sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in you, precious Guru Buddha. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. We take refuge in you, Guru, clear like Dharma Kaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. We take refuge in you, Guru, perfect Sambhogakaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. We take refuge in you, Guru, compassionate Nirmanakaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. We take refuge in you, Guru, the actuality of the fourth Kaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. All Mother, sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in you, precious Guru Buddha, we supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings, we take refuge in you, Guru, clear like Dharma Kaya, we supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings, we take refuge in you, Guru, perfect Sambhogakaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings, we take refuge in you, Guru, compassionate Nirmanakaya. Supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings, we take refuge in you, Guru, the actuality of the fourth Kaya. We supplicate you, Dharma Lord Buddha, protector of wandering beings. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness, and the causes of happiness, may they be liberated from suffering. The causes of suffering, may they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness, and the causes of happiness, may they be liberated from suffering, and the causes of suffering, may they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness, and the causes of happiness, may they be liberated from suffering, and the causes of suffering, may they never be separated from their happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. Take a moment to assume the identity of Vajrayogini, yourself appearing in the form of Vajrayogini. With all the characteristics of Vajrayogini, as described in the next section of this practice. Remember that when we practice deity yoga, practice idam, when we actively adopt the appearance of the deity, what we are doing here is not to try to replace this flesh and blood body with the body of the deity. We're not trying to replace this flesh and blood body here with a thangka or a statue. What we are working on replacing is how this appears to us, how the basis of giving rise, the basis for giving rise to the idea of I, me, and mine, which right now is this body, is this body of flesh and blood, this particular chain of cause and effect of mental continuity. The appearance of this is what we are changing via the appearance of the deity. It's a subtle point, but a very important difference. This flesh and blood body cannot be replaced. We're not performing imaginary plastic surgery. What we are working on is our habitual conceptual hold and insistence that this appearance, this is me. That appearance, not me. That appearance, not me. But this appearance. So, meaning, can we see that, in fact, when we grasp, we're not really grasping at this flesh and blood body, but the real problematic grasp is the grasping at the appearance. And on the basis of this flesh and blood body, a particular appearance, meaning a particular set of ideas, commitments, beliefs, everything has come together. And that we have mistaken to be self. And so we're trying to break that. And so we're trying to break that bundle of concepts, ideas, perception, self-image, what we think other people image us to be. That bundle is what we are dismantling through deity yoga. Imagining ourselves, visualizing ourselves as having the form, the appearance of Vajradhara, Vajradhara. Likewise, what appears in front of us is not your wall, your house, your space, your room, your computer screen, your bookshelf. That is not what we are trying to replace or dismantle, and instead put the refuge field there. Again, it's how our conceptions, our perception, our habitual perception that fixation we are replacing with the appearance of the Guru Yoga refuge field, the Guru Yoga field of accumulations. Principally with Kyobpa Jigten Sumgen seated in the middle, to his right and left, Koncho Ratna and Dugung Dhammakirti, the first Kyabgön Chetsang and Kyabgön Chetsang respectively. And they're surrounded by all the lineage gurus, extending all the way back to Buddha Shakyamuni and even further to the primordial Buddha. And they are accompanied by all members of the three jewels, three roots, a gathering as big as oceans. Please turn to page 13 in the PDF text. This is the section where we supplicate the entire Golden Rosary lineage. I supplicate you, the Dharmakaya, great Vajradhara of the sixth family. I supplicate you, the 85 Indian Mahasiddhas. I supplicate you, Tili Pranya Bhadra. I supplicate you, Naro Jnana Siddhi. I supplicate you, Marpa of Lodra, the translator. I supplicate you, Mila Shepa Dorje. I supplicate you, Dao Shonu of Dapo. I supplicate you, the three Siddhas of Kam. I supplicate you, Dorje Gyalpo of Padu. I supplicate you, Jisen Dorje Pelda. I supplicate you, Supreme Refuge Jik Tensumga. I supplicate you, Dharma Lora Nashri. I supplicate you, Kenchen Sutrim Dorje. I supplicate you, Onchen Sonam Jakpa. I supplicate you, Chenga Jakpa June. I supplicate you, Chung O Dorje Jakpa. I supplicate you, Toka Rinchen Senge. I supplicate you, Samche Jakpa Sonam. I supplicate you, Chuni Dorje Rinchen. I supplicate you, Tugu Dorje Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Nirni Chuki Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Shenyen Dondru Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Rinchen Pelgi Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Chogyal Rinchen Pelzang. I supplicate you, Rixin Chuki Gyatso. I supplicate you, Kyawang Kunga Rinchen. I supplicate you, Jesen Rinchen Punso. I supplicate you, Rinchen Nampar Gyawa. I supplicate you, Penchen Pelki Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Chokle Nampar Gyawa. I supplicate you, Sungmek Chogyal Punso. I supplicate you, Rupchen Tashi Punso. I supplicate you, Jesen Konjo Rinchen. I supplicate you, Raisin Choki Drakpa. I supplicate you, Konjo Trinle Namjao. I supplicate you, Konjo Trinle Sangpo. I supplicate you, Trinle Dondrum Chugyao. I supplicate you, Konjo Tenzin Rodu. I supplicate you, Tenzin Chuki Nima. I supplicate you, Kyabda Peme Gyanzen. I supplicate you, Jamyang Chuki Gyanzen. I supplicate you, Druwang Chuki Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Rinchen Tempe Zegen. I supplicate you, Gyawang Tuje Nima. I supplicate you, Rixin Uden Torje. I supplicate you, Jesen Choki Lordo. I supplicate you, Gyaucho Shive Lordo. I supplicate you, Jesen Dharma Kara. I supplicate you, Trisap Tenzin Tumten. I supplicate you, the Dapokaju, protectors of wandering beings. I supplicate you, my kind root Guru. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the rarity of freedoms and endowments. I still squander away my life. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on impermanence and death, I still fixate on composite phenomena as permanent. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the unmistaken nature of cause and effect. I still pervert what to adopt and what to abandon. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the sufferings of circular existence, I still take the way to the lower realms. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I safeguard the vows of individual liberation, I still lack renunciation and the determination to be free. Look upon me from afar, eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on all wandering beings as my parents, I still have biased attachment to friends and aversion for enemies. Look upon me from afar, eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I cultivate loving kindness and compassion, I still hold on to envy and enmity. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I cultivate aspiration and action bodhicitta, I still focus only on my own welfare. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on my body as the deity's exalted form, I still cling to ordinary perception. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I have counted the mantras to be recited, I still waste away my life force. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I cultivate the samadhi of moon in the water, I still solidify things as real and substantial. Look upon me from afar with eyes of passion. Reckless and mundane, although I conclude by dissolving in the subsequent stage, I still purify and confess superficially. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on my own mind as free from elaborations, I still have conceptual attitudes. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate not grasping at whatever arises. I still affix an artificial watchfulness. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on resting freely in the natural state, I still amplify artificialities. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on unity beyond conceptions, I still get carried away by the masses of likes and dislikes. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, I supplicate you who are my refuge and protector in this and all other lives. Physician who removes the chronic diseases of samsara, hero who vanquishes the elements that are enemies that are afflictive emotions, sun which dispels the darkness of ignorance, moon that protects from the heat of suffering, jewel which fulfills all our needs and desires. You Guru who are all-inclusive and all-sufficient, I supplicate you from the depths of my heart. With compassion, swiftly heed me, effortlessly bestow your blessings, grant me now on this seat the naturally accomplished feast of the two benefits. I am endowed with both merit and devotion. Do not leave my hopes unfulfilled. Don't cast away my devotion in vain. Don't let my supplications vanish unanswered. Don't be indifferent with your compassion. Refuge and protector in this life, in the intermediate state and beyond. Whatever occurs, joy or sorrow, good or bad, only you are my hope. Look upon me with eyes of compassion. You alone are my hope. So now let's continue with Kyobpa Rinpoche's biography. So I'm reading from the PDF that I shared, which is the one of the biographies of Kyobpa Rinpoche published in this book by Khenchen Koncho Gyaltsen Rinpoche, called Opening the Treasury of the Profound. In the back of this book, there are 3 biographies of Kyobpa Rinpoche, and this is a modern biography put together by His Holiness. So we are at that point where Kyobpa Rinpoche now has attained awakening. It says here, attained the state of Vajradhara. And then, Jigten Sumgun later would recount this period of his life, and he would say, I practiced meditation for 7 years. And these 7 years are referring specifically to after the passing of his guru, his main guru, Phagmo Drupa. He then went into a period of retreat, which totaled 7 years. For 5 years, he says, I didn't know how to practice. And then for 2 years, the last 2 years of those 7 years, only in those last 2 years did he practice with full understanding, and then led to his full realization. And so there he is also saying, if you practice and things are not yet, coming together, if you practice, you feel like, you're not going anywhere. And by this he means, like intensive, full time, Most of us, right? The answer is pretty obvious, Why is my practice, not seem to be going anywhere? Because you're not going anywhere, Both you and me, So we have to be realistic, You cannot expect, wow, I'm putting in 1 hour each day already. How come, Well, then at most maybe, 1 out of 24 parts of your day, you're a little bit more clear. So the other 23 parts is still blurry. So how can we, do a little bit and then expect, great results? So here he is talking to his disciples who are full-time. They have moved there in the forest, in the Dragoon Valley, going into retreat. he's saying to them, he says, for me, even that, it was 5 years of figuring out. It's not saying those 5 years are wasted at all, but took 5 years, even after all his training, father, uncle, later other teachers, great teachers, finally met the Lord of Beings, the Lord of Wandering Beings, Phagmo Drupa. Phagmo Drupa taught him many things, and he trained with Phagmo Drupa for 32 months. But even after that, he felt, and so this, when he says he didn't know how to practice, it's not the ordinary not knowing. He's saying, at every level, there are more challenges, there are more things to work through. So he says, for those 5 out of those 7 years, I didn't know how to practice. But then, through, working through those 5 years, then in the last 2 years, he felt that, he then knew for certainty what he needed to work on. And so then ultimately then, through the power of having tamed his own mind. So he says, likewise for you, if you tame your own mind, then there's the possibility of going to a Buddha land or being born in a higher, more spiritually evolved existence. Then in particular, he says, I realize that all things depend on cause and effect, meaning all phenomena operate on the principle of cause and effect. All phenomena, all happenings, all the things that we experience, the things that we like, the things that we don't like, how we achieve samsara. Samsara is an achievement, How we achieve samsara, how samsara can be achieved, can be actualized as real here, based on the principle of cause and effect. How nirvana, the end of samsara, is to be actualized, is to be realized, also through the principle of cause and effect. So he says, ultimately all causes and effects appear, and furthermore, all causes and effects are possible precisely because phenomena, things, persons, they all lack inherent existence, which is what we call emptiness. So in that sense, we say all causes and effects appear from within emptiness. But don't conceive of this emptiness as some godlike thing. Like, it gave rise to cause and effect. All it's saying here is all it's saying here when it says, ultimately all causes and effects appear from emptiness. Do not think of emptiness as some kind of mystical state. Do not think of this emptiness. We're not talking about things like, universal consciousness, the one mind, things like that. I think a lot of times, we make this mistake. We think, emptiness is this mystical state of being, that everything arises from. This is poetic expression. When it says causes and effects appear from emptiness, poetically it sounds like it's saying, emptiness is some kind of mystical state. No, all it's saying is because things lack inherent existence, which is the definition for emptiness, meaning because things are not fixed. That's why there can be causes and then can be effects. If things were fixed, then there is no arising and no ceasing. Yeah, if things were permanently so, then if in this moment you find yourself in a state of being comfortable, your comfort should remain forever like that. If you find yourself now in a state of, discomfort, then discomfort will remain perpetually like that. But nothing whatsoever from the moment you're born to this moment, nothing whatsoever that you have experienced have that kind of unchangingness. So that's emptiness. Yeah. Changing. Only a nihilistic understanding of emptiness cancels out cause and effect. Yeah, but actually this topic is a very important topic and debated in Tibetan Buddhist philosophical and debate communities. How empty is this emptiness? Is where it gets really interesting. How empty exactly is this emptiness? And within this debate, which continues to the present time, people are still composing texts and counter texts, establishing this and refuting that to the present time. And these debates, basically, they don't argue so much about ultimately are things empty or not. Where all the arguments are, relatively, how empty is empty. Yeah, because ultimately empty, we all agree. Then because Buddhism often speaks in terms of the two truths, the ultimate truth and the relative truth, or the absolute and the conventional. Yeah. So all of these debates is on the status of conventional truth. How does conventional truth, how true is conventional truth? And a few weeks ago, maybe, I posted on Facebook the cover of a book that I'm currently reading. It's called Knowing Illusion, meaning knowing relative truth, right? Ultimate truth, no debate about how that's not illusion. But relative truth, and this book is, I would not recommend. But it's a lot of fun if you're that kind of a geek. But it will do nothing, I fear, for your practical purposes of what emptiness is. But if you are, in the mood of giving yourself something really challenging, then maybe you want to get the book, Yeah, it's really on So as far as I can understand what these debates are, it's, like I said, it's basically about what is the status of relative truth. And by relative truth, they all will say cause and effect belongs to this level of relative truth. Okay? Now, I'm not sure if Kyobpa Rinpoche agrees. So in some ways, when I'm reading this debate, this debate basically puts all of them into two basic camps. Yeah, but I'm not sure, as I'm reading this volume, where Kyobpa Rinpoche would position himself. I just have a feeling that he doesn't belong in either of these two sides that are debating the status of relative truth. Because it seems to me, as far as my limited understanding of this reading, they all both would say cause and effect is a matter of relative truth. So that both sides of the debate seems to agree. I'm not sure Kyobpa Rinpoche would articulate things that way, yeah? Would express it that way. So that would be one way I think Kyobpa Rinpoche would say, actually, you can't talk this way. I'm imagining Kyobpa Rinpoche being brought into this debate, or someone might mention this debate to him, and he might say something like, I don't frame this issue this way. Yeah. Am I saying that he will say that cause and effect belongs to ultimate truth? I'm not saying that either, okay? I'm just saying he will hesitate. He will hesitate to immediately kind of assign the issue of cause and effect to relative truth. But anyway, in this debate, both sides, they agree. Relative truth, cause and effect, karmic causality, that's relative truth. Now, to be fair, both of them will also say, but you have to, you cannot dismiss karmic causality. They will both say that, but you cannot dismiss karmic causality. Now, of course, where this debate even becomes a debate is, one side will say, you only say you cannot ignore karmic causality, when in reality, the way you articulate the status of karmic causality renders it into something that you can ignore. Each side is accusing the other side of making this mistake. You say we should not ignore karmic causality, but your philosophical position on karmic causality leaves anyone who believes in that philosophy no choice but to dismiss karmic causality. So one camp will say, anything and everything that is part of relative truth necessarily has no basis. So by that, they will include karmic causality. The other side will say, there is enough truth to karmic causality that you cannot say that anything and everything that is relative truth has no basis whatsoever. Yes.
I think I've missed something along the line. I don't understand the difference between cause and effect and karmic causality.
Same thing.
Well, why? They seem to be making some differentiation.
No, they're not. That's not where they're making differentiation. Same. I'm just using different phrasings.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Karmic causality, cause effect, as I'm just using different phrasing. That's not where their debate is. Their debate is how true is relative truth. And specifically in the issue of karmic causality, then, how true is karmic causality? How true is cause and effect? One side will say, absolutely no truth to it from the perspective of a Buddha. But the other side will say, no, Buddhas can see that sentient beings, are under this delusion, and therefore Buddhas will work with sentient beings on this. So this debate, in part is what this side says, this side's, and the consequence of this side's belief, and what this side says, the consequences of this side's belief, philosophical positions. So in that way, they both say they are consequentialists, which is a technical term about the most supreme way of understanding Nagarjuna's teachings on Madhyamaka is the consequentialist way. So both sides of this debate will say they are consequentialists. And so then they say, well, the consequence of having that position leads to chaos in our language. This side says, no, you are the ones who have the kind of belief that leads to, that results in, that has consequences of chaos. So both sides are debating. As I say, I don't necessarily recommend the book. But on days I feel when you become lazy, on days that when you think, all phenomena is just peace. That's when I feel, okay, I need to read this book. When you delude yourself into thinking, I must have experienced some kind of nirvana, and go read that book then. And then it yanks you back to, the unrealness of this. But here, really, Kyabgön Rinpoche says, I realize that all things operate on, all things depend on, operate on the principle of cause and effect, on karmic causality. Ultimately, all causes and effects appear from emptiness. This is my special understanding. So actually, he would not debate. But a statement like this has profound philosophical meanings for those who like to debate. So someone who is part in Kyobpa Rinpoche's tradition could become a debater and enter that debate. But I have no ability to enter that debate. I could just tell when reading about that debate that Kyobpa's position is neither of these two. He has a third, he offers a third alternative to these two sides of this debate. But unfortunately, I don't have the ability to engage in the debate. I can just watch this debate from the side, and whatever I see have this kind of feeling like, these are not the only ways to think about this issue. Yeah. So anyway, Jigten Sumgön then left his cave, Echung. When Lama Yal, which was the person who I think earlier said, Lama Yal let him stay in this cave. So these, when we talk about caves, they're not just like caves with how we think of it today, like caves, like who wants caves? Caves are basically dwellings, in 12th century. And to this day, for some people, caves are still dwellings, but these are dwellings, Their caves are not like damp and, dark. Damp. Dark is a given, but they're not damp. It's dry. It's a comfortable, safe dwelling. And so Lama Yal has this cave. And so now Lama Yal, again, Lama Yal is a senior in the Phagmo Drupa's community, kind of senior to Jigten Sumgön, one of his Dharma brothers. So Lama Yal invited him to lead a ceremony Then Namkha Gyen, the daughter of Topa Drupse, don't know who these people are, but this person, Namkha Gyen, ran and danced naked through the assembly. This is one account. Another account that I've read says that it's actually Lama Yal's daughter was behaving kind of provocatively during this ritual in front of Jigten Sumgön. What we would say to be like, like trying to seduce Jigten Sumgön within the context of this ritual. But and you say, wait, this is really weird. Like, what do you mean? Like, we're not talking about ordinary flirtation. Yeah? Because part of what's going on is there are some who interpret aspects of Vajrayana ritual to be actual having like, physical sexual elements to it. Yeah, so it's true, like people don't want to talk much about this these days. All these paintings of Buddhas in union, yes, they are symbolic, but for some people, at least, they're not merely symbolic. And I think, to be fair, there's enough evidence, like in India, in Tibet, there is an understanding that says when you are really, really, really trained and evolved, sexual energy, which is the source of samsara for all of us, quite literally, that's how we're born and conceived, can be transformed and rerouted. Now here we again enter this debate realm. How true is relative truth? Like, okay, can in principle, but in practice, how many people actually can or cannot? Yeah. Already in Atisha's, when he came to teach this topic, he said, those of you who are monks and nuns should never even go in that direction. It's not appropriate for you. By that, he's admitting that those who are not monks and nuns may, but then he warns, he says, this is such a slippery slope that even though it can powerfully kind of take you from a state of confusion to awakening, chances are it will take you from confusion to more confusion. It's playing with fire. So Atisha doesn't recommend. But there were some of these things going on. So in this ceremony, this woman dancing around naked, and in another account, a variation of this, what she's doing is she is communicating to Jigten Sumgön, I can be your consort, basically. Yeah, not just in the abstract, but like I can and I want to be your consort. Okay. We don't know exactly how much of like samsaric mind is behind this proposal. It could be that she didn't think of it as samsaric, that she genuinely thought, she could support his practice by offering herself to be a, advanced like support for Jigten Sumgön. But then instead, Jigten Sumgön thought, he says, this is all happening because I'm not a monk. So it's leaving some doubt in people's minds as to what style of practice that I keep to. He says, okay, now let's not, as Christians will say, as Paul will say, don't cause others to sin. And so he says, I need to go become a monk now and lay this issue to rest so that people don't have funny ideas, And so then, following this, he put on robes and went to Un. And so at the age of 35, for the benefit of beings, he received the vows of a bhikshu from Khenpo Shang, La Lopon Tsilongpa, and Sangdewa Nyawa Dulzin, these three great Vinaya masters of their times. You need, for your full ordination, you need these three and then 5 witnesses, I think, in this system. So 8 fully ordained monks, at least 5 or 4, I don't remember. 5, I think. 5 witnesses and 3 officiants. These 3. And so then he became a monk. Yeah. At the age of 35, which, by the way, if you remember the history of the Buddha's life, Buddha attained enlightenment at the age of 35. So I don't think this is accidental. There is a connection being made. Historical Buddha's achievement of enlightenment and Kyobpa Rinpoche's becoming a fully ordained monk at the age of 35. Phagmo Drupa had encouraged Jigten Sumgön to become monk. While Phagmo Drupa was alive, Jigten Sumgön kept saying no, no, no. But when he achieved enlightenment, then he decided, okay, now the most proper way to exist for the benefit of others is for me to become a monk. So then he became a monk. So today we will stop here. I have some arborists coming to take down some branches and trees. I need to go see and tell them what to cut. Yes, but we'll continue with our class tomorrow. Chanchu Semchu Rinpoche Ma Ge Ba Nam Ge Gyu Che Ge Ba Nyam Pa Me Pa Yang Gong Ne Gong Du Bel Wan Shou. Goodbye.
Thank you, Lapon.
Thank you for joining
Bye.
class. Yeah, bye.
Thank you, Dr. Mike.
Good night.
Bye.